Hey, what's up, everyone? So, today we're going to be talking all things about World Othello Federation ratings. So, yeah, if you're clicking into this video, you're probably curious as to how are you going to get a World Othello official rank in the world. So, before we get there, perhaps I'm just going to run through how the World Othello Federation rating list is like. So over here in this screen, you can see that we are at the World Othello Federation rating site. I'm going to include the link in the video description below, so you can check it out anytime you feel like having it. So first of all, this is the website. You have the World Othello Federation logo, quite a simple and nice logo over there. You have ratings, a very simple description of what it is. And over here, you can see there is a drop down. This is basically the date, the last date that it was updated. So the last date it was updated was 14th November 2020, based on what I've seen. So usually updates occur almost on a monthly basis, as and when there are tournaments results being submitted to the World Othello Federation by various national Othello federations. So this is basically the ratings date, and you can also have a quick search and look up player. So if you don't want to look up a player, you can go down and refer to the entire full list over here. So let's just go down and scroll down. So over here, you can see basically the world number one rank player as of today is Mr. Keisuke Fukuchi. So Keisuke Fukuchi is actually the 2018 World Othello champion. So he won it when he was only 11 years old, making him the youngest World Othello champion who have ever won the title. And definitely, I think based on what I know, he's taken a quick hiatus or a break from Otello to focus on his studies. In his basically his middle school or high school entrance exams. So yeah, so that is where it is right now. He's currently placed as number one. And of course, besides the World Othello Championship results, there are also local tournament results that are included into this results. So over here, you can see the rating. Over here, it's 2,548. So that's the number one ranked player. And plus minus 55 is basically the error, or essentially the standard deviation of how he might fluctuate depending on his performance in any given tournament. And 310 is basically the number of games that he's recorded officially and submitted results to the World Othello Federation. And of course, over here you have his name and of course his country, JPN, which is Japan. So if you look at the second ranked player, is Mr. Yusuke Takanashi. So Mr. Yusuke Takanashi is basically one of the greatest champions of modern Othello for sure. At least the past decade, he's been dominating. Out of the past 10 world, probably 10 to 12 World Othello Championship, he's actually won 5 of them, I believe. And of course, that includes a back-to-back titles. So almost every time he joins a World Othello Championship, he is almost bound to win. I think so far he's only failed twice, 2016 and 2019. So yeah, basically, Mr. Yusuke Takanashi is the closest person to matching or beating the all-time title record holder, Mr. Hideshi Taminori, who is also from Japan. So Mr. Hideshi Taminori has been a little bit more inactive ever since 2006 when he won his seventh World Othello Championship title. So that's a pretty interesting one. But however, he still plays a very high level on the Otello Quest online gaming app. So the third place right now is 2506 rating, Mr. Akihiro Takahashi. So this is he is definitely one of the most informed player and one of the hottest players in the world right now, because he's also a close rival to Mr. Keisuke Fukuchi. Both of them belong to the same generation. I think he's only 1 or 2 years older than him, and he won the last World Othello Championship in 2019 back in Japan. So over here you can see that he has also quite a number of games clocked. So if you look at the number of games clocked, there is somewhat of a correlation. The larger the number of games that you've registered, generally the lower the standard deviation. So given that Mr. Yusuke Takanashi already has 1,778 games recorded, his standard deviation is very, very low at 21. And of course, if you look at within the top 10, Mr. Tetsuya Nakajima, one of the Japanese 8-dan and one of the top players in the world. I think he is a former world number 2 in one of the World Othello Championships that he's participated in. And he has 2,927 games and with a very low standard deviation of 14. So yeah, basically, if the more tournaments you join, the better your results are, and you can actually lower your standard deviation to a very low number. So even if you go in to a tournament and you don't really do as well as expected, but given based on your past records, you probably wouldn't drop down the rankings too much. So this is an interesting list. So for me, I'm currently, let me see, let's scroll down. I'm probably not within the top 40. I used to be, I think I once was world number 16th, but due to my standard deviation being relatively high compared to the top guys, some tournaments results basically dragged me down. So over here, it's an interesting one. I'm over here, T basically I think means tied or joint, 65 rank. So I have a rating of 2239 at the moment, and of course I have 380 games submitted. Standard deviation or error of plus minus 40. That's my name, Bochao Alex Ko. So from Singapore. So right now I'm the top ranked player in Singapore. And of course, if you look through the entire list, you can see so many of them are actually Japanese players because basically Otello started in Japan, and definitely they have a huge, rich culture of Otello. So it's not surprising that there are so many top players that are from Japan and they uphold a very high playing level. So if you go to Japan, you join any major tournament or even minor tournament for that matter, you would find yourself playing against one of the top at least 100 guys in the world at least. So that is an interesting one. So over here you have a country filter that you can implement as well. So assuming I didn't want to include Japan and I wanted to see non-Japanese players ranking because Japan basically almost dominates the most of the top 100 lists. So let's take a quick look over here. If I filtered out Japan, so Mr. Rujipas Anchuli from Thailand, he's the number 1 right now. If we exclude Japanese players, he has a rating of 2430, and essentially he's the 2016 World Othello champion. And Mr. Chang Chun Yi is from Taiwan. He only has 62 games clocked, even though he's relatively new to the scene. And in terms of official game count, he's actually proven himself to be very effective at World Othello Championship. So the last time he joined in 2019, which was the last World Othello Championship held, he actually got 5th place. So it's a very commendable finish. And previously, I think in 2016, also in Japan, he also achieved a ranking of 6th place. Of course, at 3rd place right now, Mr. Ben Seeley, he's a double 2-time World Othello champion in 2003 and 4, I believe. And of course, Mr. Song Yan, he is a Otello World Cup 2014 champion, and he has a runner-up finish of World Othello Championship in 2016, just behind Rujipas Alchuli. So that's a very interesting one. So yeah, if we exclude the Japanese players, I'm actually in the 12th rank, so that's quite interesting. Definitely, this rating list is not a perfect one, but it's basically the system that we use for Otello rankings, which is accumulative of your past results. But given that I've played Otello for the past 12 years, it's not all the results that is being fully accounted for contributing to the ratings. As I understand, only the past 3 years results would be highly weighted, and definitely World Othello Championship results would have a higher weightage over national federation tournaments. Also, I think more recent results would also play a higher weightage. So if you have done very well in the past and you've basically kind of dropped in level relatively, and if you meet a player, your rating would probably drop if you didn't perform so well in the recent tournaments. So from a new player perspective, if you are looking to join a national federation tournament, do look up the FAQ. So in the FAQ, we'll be able to see how the ratings are actually how the results are being submitted and how the ratings are being computed. So that's a very interesting one. Let me just put back Japan at the moment. And let's put in a filter. So if you wanted to select just your country, so for my country, I'm from Singapore, I'll click on Singapore, and basically we have the Singapore rating list. So this is how it works. You can see all the Singapore players. And yeah, basically that is how it is. You can see how many top rated players there are. And let's say if we were to recheck back on all the countries, and so one more point that I wanted to highlight here is hide unofficial players, this checkbox over here. So if I were to untick this checkbox, you would realize that there are some grayed out names which are the unofficial rated players. So usually, so over here you can see that his standard deviation is 299 and he only has 13 games submitted. So this is usually the case when you have fewer than, I think, around 20 games or so, or your standard deviation has to drop below 200 to actually get an official rating. So typically that happens when you clock about 20 games, I guess. So yeah, there are some players who are still new to the scene, but doing pretty well. So definitely before this, there is also a player who has been ranked very high, uh, Masaya Kasai, I believe. Let's check. Maybe I've got his name wrong. Yep. So this is him. So he was once atop the World Othello ranking list, and I believe his rating is actually very high. He reached the top of the world previously, but I think due to inactivity, joining fewer tournaments, he basically did not uh, have his rating fully updated, I believe. So I think his rating kind of dropped off the list over time. So if you don't join official tournaments for some time, your rating list will in fact drop off over time, basically. So yeah, if you want to keep your World Othello rating, you have to join at least 3 years of tournaments in recency. So I think the last tournament registered for him is actually 2016. So yeah, basically he probably dropped off the rating list after 2020. So if you look at the rating history, he was at 2,675 as of 30th of June 2019 before he dropped off the list. So if you notice, 2,675 is actually way higher than basically what you've seen at the previous rating list. Atop the list was Mr. Keisuke Fukuchi of 2,548. So this is something that is quite interesting. So he also dropped off the hide unofficial player list. So let's take a quick look at the FAQs just to understand a little bit more on how you can get world ranked. So over here there is the FAQ. What is this rating list? How is it calculated? So you can look for this link that I'm also including in the video description below, and you can kind of find out and read up on it. So what is this rating list? The World Othello Federation maintains this rating list of all Otello players around the world. Tournament results are collected from every federation and sent to E. Lazard. So he's actually Emmanuel Lazard. He runs the rating list program, and the rating list is updated once or twice every 2 months. So yeah, basically you can read up on how you can, how it's calculated, and why people have unofficial rating, how I can choose a player, how can I use the country selector, and things like that. So you can also view specific tournament results. So sending results, there is a specific format of sending the results, so you can read up on that. But essentially, the results submission is being done by the National Federation representative. So over here, there is a long list of Federation representatives. So for example, Argentina, you have Daniel Olivares. And the range over here basically refers to the tournament or the player ID range. So if you're from Argentina, the chances are that if you participated in Argentinian tournaments for the first time, what you get is basically your ID. You will have a World Othello official ID, and that would be a 6-digit number, most likely starting with 28. So, for example, for me, I'm actually from Singapore, and over here you can see I'm the national representative of submission of Singapore results, and we start with 2-5, and basically we have up to 10,000 players allowed in our list. So, yeah, basically that's how it works. So, if you're from, other countries, you can look up this list and see whether you can identify who is your national representative. If you're interested to join national federation tournaments, do contact that person. If you're from a country that is not included in this list and you wanted to set up a federation, do email them and get into contact with the World Othello Federation and try to set up one organization, perhaps for your country. And basically the rest is just details of how the player's ID and ranking lists are indicated, and how the player ID and name list is maintained throughout the national federation. So this is a very interesting one. So basically, if you want to get world rank, the bottom line is try to contact your national federation representative if there is one. Participate in rated tournaments, which I believe at least should consist of games that are having a thinking time of 15 minutes or 20 minutes and above, and basically get your national federation to submit those results after you've participated in a tournament. And once you hit 20 games, you'll become an official rated player with an official World Othello Federation ID, and you can start climbing up the ranks by doing better. So typically, if you really wanted to go way higher at the start, you have to beat higher rated players in the same tournament. So I hope I've pretty much covered everything there is, at least from a basic point of view or understanding for World Othello Federation rating list, and also how you can get your World Othello rank. So I wish you all the best in participating in future tournaments, and I hope to see you soon in the ranking list. Goodbye.